Technology School. As some of you may detect, I am not actually from Spain originally. I am in fact from Dublin, Ireland. It is such a pleasure to be here. I recently relocated from the UK to Spain, and now I live outside of Barcelona. I'm very happy, and thank you, Spain, for the warm welcome. Actually, I emceed here last year, and on the back of South Summit, I got a speaker contract with the same agency who represents people like Richard Branson and Al Gore. So South Summit is a conference that's very dear to my heart, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here again. I do a few other things aside from teaching at Barcelona Technology School. I'm a senior contributor to Forbes. I write about media, music, and mobile. I'm also the music editor of Phoenix magazine, which is a London-based fashion magazine. Go figure. I know nothing about fashion, but don't tell them. And I'm also a freelance event host and MC. Please do reach out to me on LinkedIn and let's connect. If we connect, I will send you a mixtape. I'm not even kidding. I have a special mixtape for you, which I will email you. So we've got a fantastic day here today. I like to frame the things that are happening in the industry by way of a story from Forrester, a report they did a few years ago that spoke about our move towards this age of the customer, where the customer is absolutely at the center of technology and every approach to business. It's done empathetically from the customer's shoes. And there are 4 business imperatives in this age of the customer. Number 1 is to completely change and revolutionize the customer experience. Number 2 is to turn big data into business insights. Number 3 is to completely embrace the mobile mindset. And number 4 is to become a digital disruptor. Now, this concept of disrupting or being disrupted is nowhere more prevalent than in the field of fintech. So we have an incredibly exciting series of panels, fireside chats and sessions lined up for you this morning in the fintech stream. It's going to be awesome. And as an Irishman, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce our next speakers. They are 2 incredible companies, absolutely incredible. One of them is actually the most valuable startup on the planet today. They've just closed a round of $350 million in funding, bringing their total amount of funding to $1 billion, which is sensational. The other one has just closed $35 million in funding, so huge congratulations to both companies there, I think, are on the course. So we're going to talk about going global, the importance of going global. Going global is actually vital, but it really isn't easy. And our next 2 speakers are here to share their experiences and their advice about going global with you. So I know it's first thing in the morning. We might just have got up. We might need some more coffee. But I want you to give them a huge, huge round of applause when they walk on stage, if you could. And we should be doing this all day. Ladies and gentlemen, for our first fireside chat at the FinTech stage today, please welcome to the stage Borja Santos from Stripe and Ignacio Bachiller from Fever. Please, a huge round of applause. Yes, awesome.
Thank you. So, good morning, everyone. Buenos días. I guess for the ones that you haven't heard about Stripe or haven't heard from us, let me tell you what Stripe is. Stripe is a platform that provides payments for companies around the world. We actually support companies like Airbnb, Spotify, Uber, or Amazon. And we provide payments, and there is one guy here that is sitting with us, which I would love to talk to. His name is Nacho, and he's the CEO of Fever. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys do?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here. So people spend money basically on 3 things: housing, transport, and having fun. We help on the having fun part. So we have 3 main parts that we cover. We have a discovery marketplace called Fever, where people come to see what to do in their city, cover all sorts of experiences. We have media, which some of you may know, Madrid Secreto, Secret London, Secret NYC, where we're reaching over 12 million people per week, and we use that to amplify what our marketplace, what kind of experiences our marketplace has. And then also, recently, we've started creating what we call Fever Originals, where similar to Netflix, we're having a similar approach where we're using data from our marketplace to create new experiences to transform the entertainment landscape in the cities we're in. So yeah, that's Fever in a nutshell.
Who actually haven't heard about La Casa de Papel escape room, right?
Yeah,
that was a great success, and these guys were actually behind that. So today we want to talk about going global. Today we want to talk a little bit about the challenges of building an international business. We started 8 years ago in San Francisco. Today we're in 35 countries. And the thing with Fever is a data-driven business. I mean, and these guys, they managed to do something amazing, which is launching their product in 3 cities at the same time as actually going into a market. Madrid, it was
Madrid, New York,
and London. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that? How did it happen, and why you guys from day one went international?
Yes, it's a great question. You know, when we launched the business, there were a lot of companies at that point in Spain who had taken concepts from the US and thought, you know, there would be a great idea to launch them in Spain and other markets such as Latin America, and they've done fantastically well at doing that. In our case, we saw from day one, perhaps also because, you know, I went to school in the US, and from the very beginning, the ambition was to be global. And to be global, you know, you have to have a product that's innovating, that nobody else is doing. So we wanted to be the ones that were leading in the market, and that's why from the beginning we decided to launch Madrid and directly go to New York and London. At the time, people thought that it was a bit of a crazy move because, you know, you're going to some of the most relevant markets in the world, so there's a lot of risk in doing so. But we also thought, of course, that if we prove that we can be the leaders in those markets, you know, it'll open doors to international financiers, venture capitals, and also make sure that we're first to market in some of the top markets in the world. So that was the thought process. Of course, we strongly believed also that Madrid could be our hub for operations and technology. There's tremendously good talent here in Spain. From day one, the ambition has been to be global, you know, launching from Madrid and into the world.
And well, that is absolutely incredible, right? And I think that reflects what we're seeing today in our days. Today, 70% of the startups actually tend to go international. After 2 years. It took 25 years to Inditex to open first store outside Spain. So that's clearly a change that we are seeing. What is next for you?
So the idea, I mean, as they mentioned when we were introduced, so we recently raised a $35 million round led by Rakuten, which, you know, they've got great expertise in helping companies become unicorns. So hopefully we'll be at your stage someday.
I'm sure.
The idea is to continue growing. You know, we're going to be mostly focusing on the US and Europe, launching, you know, new markets every few months. Right now, we're in the process of opening Chicago and Barcelona, which surprisingly we hadn't opened yet. So, the idea is to continue growing, investing in technology, and especially growing the Fever Originals part of the business, which has been doing tremendously well. Yeah,
let's talk a little bit about. I mean, for the entrepreneurs in the room, I think it'd be interesting to understand how do you keep the processes. I mean, going international from early days. How do you build that company, and how do you keep the culture also on those different offices, right? Coming from Madrid?
Yeah, so on the processes, you know, some of the challenges that we had from early on is the communication. So when you have, you know, teams several hours away, you know, and time difference, you need to start setting up early on a lot of processes to make sure that there's over communication. Because if not, you can have people or teams that feel like they're in silos. So when we had the New York office, we only had at the beginning 3-4 people, but the role they were playing was extremely important. So, well, there was a lot of myself traveling there, and I still do that. I still travel all over the place. But yeah, communication is important. And then culture, it's not as much maintaining culture as how can you extract the most value from the culture that the different teams provide to the business and make sure that the HQ or the biggest office, which in this case in Madrid, is benefiting from a lot of the things that the teams in the US, for example, or in France or in Portugal provide. So it's not one directional. It's, you know, we're sharing all this information across the different markets, and of course hiring people who have experience scaling businesses around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on that point, I mean, when I joined Stripe 4 years ago, and I was employee number 300. I think we were not more than 15 people only in Europe. And the first person on the ground, or the first team on the ground, he can try to be all over the place, and that is actually driven mostly by the localization of the go-to-market, right? I think, as you said, it's extremely key to combine both, to continue with the mission and the culture of the company in one direction, and combining with what the market is telling you, which I believe is extremely important. Let's talk a little bit about well, with Stripe, we are a very tech company. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your technology? So what technology you guys use today which is helping you to scale?
Yeah, I mean, well, we're using, of course, a lot of tools in a lot of different areas of the business, and we've always been focusing. I mean, on the tech side, of course, we use Stripe, AWS, GitHub, Jira, all of these different tools that help on the infrastructure side, but also on productivity. Similar on, for marketing automation, of course, we're spending a lot of money on marketing every month across a lot of different platforms, and it can often be a challenge there's a lot of overhead if you're not using the right tools. So there we're using Space Boost, Smartly, all sorts of different tools to help on the optimization component. Because of course we need to build a scalable business where the more you grow, you don't need to proportionally grow the team or the resources. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons I think because of companies going international is how the barriers has been going down. I mean, how companies like you mentioned AWC, right? Amazon Web Service have solved an amazing problem, right? Which had to be solved. I think Google solved an amazing problem that had to be solved, right? Advertisement. I think in that line, I mean, companies like Stripe, we are eliminating barriers for companies to sell internationally from early days, which is fantastic. And on that technology, I mean, what has been, how do you, as a CEO of a company, many entrepreneurs in the room, as I said, how do you use your time? How do you split your day? How much do you use for what? And what is really taking your time these days?
So removing flights, which I take a lot of. So I usually, I'm usually spending a few days in Madrid, a few days in London, and then one day in Paris, Lisbon, or Barcelona, or any other markets per week. Then I'm going to the US every 3-4 weeks as well. So there's a lot of travel. Unfortunately, there's not much technology to help on the flights component, aside from the booking.
Not today.
But yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time hiring. Every time that we're thinking about how we can go global, the key component there is how do you build layers of management to help scale. And I'm sure, in Stripe you've gone through similar challenges, and I think people sometimes underestimate the importance of how much time it takes to hire the right people.
Absolutely.
And actually there's a lot of old school. I'm still reaching out to like dozens of people on LinkedIn every week. Me
you
personally,
do that?
yes.
Really?
I'm still doing that a lot. And then of course using recruiters and so on. But yeah, I spend a lot of time hiring. I spend a lot of time on the business side. So there's a lot of now that we've got more markets, we can establish global relationships with global players. So we're working with a lot of IP owners as a result of the escape room of La Casa de Papel we did here in Madrid, which is tremendously successful. That's now launching in Barcelona and in other cities as well. There's a lot of big players that you can only have access to if you're in multiple cities and you're relevant and you show that you can scale. So we're at a point now where we've proven that, and I'm spending a lot of time, closing a lot of those agreements together with my team. And then on the operational side, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made on a daily basis. But yeah, a little bit all over the place. And product, of course, we're a product that's innovating. We don't really have anyone to copy. So there's a lot of time spent in product committees thinking about what's the next thing, how can we build the best discovery platform, how can we become essentially the Netflix of experiences, with of course all the differences that there are between streaming and entertainment. But we want to be the go-to platform for entertainment discovery, and for that, entertainment, as we know, is not a very obvious consumption. There's a lot of convincing that is necessary. It's not just I'm hungry, I order food, or I need to go from point A to point B, and I order a cab. Entertainment, there's a lot of factors that play in. And so from a product perspective or from a marketing perspective, there's a lot of strategic decisions that need to be made and a lot of innovation.
Totally. No, I mean, and once again, you are a company very data-driven, and I personally think that is great. Tell us a little bit about how do you translate demand into a real product?
So you mean how we use the...
How do you use your data to analyze what are the trends, what is people expecting from you, what demand do I have where, and how do you actually move that into a real product?
Yeah. So the beauty of our product is that people are coming without knowing what they want to do. So people come to us for inspiration, Of course, it means that you need to build a consumer product that is very complete and very easy to use and very aspirational, but it also means that the data that you can obtain from those customers is really rich. So people coming to Fever not knowing what they want to do, they are interacting with a lot of different content, and that means that we can have in real time data on what trends there are in the marketplace, what sort of experiences are working, what ingredients an experience needs to be successful in a certain category. And we can use that data for three things mainly. One, to improve the recommendation, so every user has a personalized recommendation on their feed. So you and I will see different experiences on the app, and that's of course something that requires a lot of data processing. Then we also use that data to understand what stories to create on our media. So the reason why across every single city we own the largest local media for entertainment is not because we have a humongous editorial workforce. In fact, it's very small, very talented, but very small. But it's because they are working together with our engineers to actually understand what trends there are and what stories are actually going to generate engagement. And then lastly, we're using data to understand what new experiences we can create that are not currently there. So right now, a lot of people are creating experiences with a tunnel vision of what the experience that they have in their category. We have that bird's eye view of what's going on, so we can understand where there are gaps in supply, and we can help create that new supply and help create data-driven experiences and get amazing case studies like La Casa Papel Escape Room, or another one that we have right now is an Alice in Wonderland immersive cocktail experience, which has had over 20,000 people go in the US and already over 10,000 people go in London in only a few months. So.
Great. That only with 300 people, right?
In the company?
Yeah.
200.
200 people? Okay. By the way, you guys are recruiting, I know.
Yeah.
What are the profiles that you guys normally are going after these days?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've always got a ton of open positions across all the departments. I mean, right now, with the launching of new markets, the scaling of the originals, there's a lot of senior operations roles that we're searching for. Business development, that as I mentioned before, I'm spending a lot of time closing global agreements. So we're looking for people who can help with that. And then, I mean, tech is always one where, fortunately, in Madrid, we're able to take in a lot of talent because, we're innovating, for an engineer to be innovating from Madrid on a product that's having global impact is something that's very appealing. But of course, it's always great to bring on people from other countries or other markets who have had experience, for example, in the Bay Area or in Germany and so on, and who can bring a lot of expertise. So, we just hired a few product people, one senior product director from Booking.com, another from Delivery Hero, and it's also they bring a lot to the culture. These companies, processes, right. And a lot of ways of looking at things, how to think. Some are more data-driven, some are more creative. But yeah, there's hiring across the board. We've got almost 5 to 10 people starting every week over the last months.
Great, great. No, I mean, I just want to mention something, which I was just thinking, listening to you, right? You were working at McKinsey for Fever, right? You spent there how many years?
Briefly.
Very briefly. But you're coming kind of from the corporate world, right? I mean, the ones that we are over 30 in the room, when we finished university the previous days, we were thinking to join a telco or a bank or a consulting firm. What are your views today on the talented people thinking about joining companies like Fever, the Global, the Spota Homes, right?
Yep.
I mean, why do you think that is changing and it's opening opportunities for companies like you or even Stripe to capture talent?
Yeah, and I think it's. Personally, I really enjoyed my time at McKinsey, but I was there for a very short time. Because when an opportunity comes to build something amazing, well, I think you should do it. And I think that's one of the key things that's, answering your question of why people are making these changes. I think the younger generation are very impatient, and they want to see that they can have an impact quickly, and an impact that actually is, global a lot of times. Corporates, I still think, when I hire, I still value people who have had relevant experience in corporates. I think there's a lot of good things that they provide, a lot of good processes, a hard-working culture. I do think it provides a lot of value, but the reason why I think people are open to changing earlier on in their careers and they're not, doing 20 years in a corporate is because they want to do new things that drive impact. And of course, there's a big culture component as well that startups have developed, a pretty cool culture and a very rewarding and meritocratical culture as well, where it's not just 2 years plus 2 years plus 2 years. At Fever, you can be there for a year and you can have been promoted 3 times.
I love that.
So
It's great. It's great. It's about how technology are helping vertical decentralize and opening opportunities as well, and that helps CEOs like Nacho to kind of capture talent, as I said. We got 1 minute, bit more left. One question about Stripe. We've been working together. There's reason why we're doing that. International fraud control, all those things. If there is one killing feature that we could build for you, what would it be?
I hope that it happens. Fever, the customer journey doesn't stop once you buy the experience. So once you discover and buy the experience, people then go to the venues and continue having an awesome time. And it's an opportunity for us to still be relevant for them at the venue. So I think that anything that can help on how they're spending money at the venue, we pride ourselves in being a cashless, paperless, not cashless, well, digital payments and a paperless platform. So anything that can help our users continue using Fever at the venue, buying drinks or continuing to spend money there, it's great for the organizer, for whom we're providing a lot of value, and it's also great for the user. So, if there's any tools that can allow us to facilitate that without the user leaving the app or providing additional benefits and being able to top up, in their Fever wallets, for example, and continue to make payments while at the venue, that would be pretty awesome.
That's great. It's actually something that we really see in the market. I mean, in those markets, people want to continue having that control because you guys are providing a great service anyway, and the user wants to talk to you, continue talking to you anyway. So yes, it was something that we write down. We have something that we recently released in the US, similar to what you just said, which is called Stripe Connect Instant Payouts, by the way. I will keep you informed. That is actually available only in the US for now, but it will come to Europe soon, and I will call you.
That's awesome.
Okay, we just ran out of that. That's been great. I mean, we just made it. We just ran out of time. I mean, I just wanna. By the way, there's a few folks from Stripe in the room, so please come and talk to us. There's a few guys here, the first round. Nacho, congratulations, great business. Thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you everyone for being here with us. Stripe was here 4 years ago, launching Stripe Spain, and now we're back. So thanks to the guys, Almudena, Sofia, the guys from South Summit, for inviting us. It's been absolutely a great pleasure. So thank you.